Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're gonna take a closer look at this tiger bark ficus here that, since I have bought it, has been in this little plastic pot that it came in, and today the goal is to actually get it out of this pot and into its first proper bonsai pot that I have already propped up here. So I would say let's start right away with getting into the roots of this tree by taking it out of this little cover pot. It is time to repot it because I have noticed little roots already coming out here at the bottom of the pot. So we simply loosen the soil around it a little bit and remove it and take a closer look at what we're actually working with here. You can see it is basically in coco coir, so very dense soil that normally is not the best for bonsai because it stays moist for too long. I have watered this 2 days ago and you can see it is still drenched basically, so definitely not the best soil. We will replace this with something that is mainly inorganic, maybe mix some of this coco coir into it because it is simply a medium that the tree is used to by now. What we're also going to look at is working on the branches a little bit, but we will talk about that once we get the roots free of this soil, and that is what I would like to do right now. So let me move this cover pot to the side and then we simply break off pieces of the soil. Actually, let me put it right away into this cover pot to make, or at least to attempt to make a little bit of a mess here. It's very crunchy, you can hear. So because the soil is still so soaked with water. Let's see if this is actually a benefit or a problem when removing the soil. Normally I tend to do it rather when the soil is on the drier side, but I figured, why not try it this way? And something that I've noticed very often with those trees that are in coco coir, their roots are extremely weak and basically not at all developed. You can see a couple of longer feeder roots here, but in general, you can see there's basically no root mass on this tree. We're gonna take a closer look in a second and talk a little bit about how this tree was actually created and sold, because I think it will become quite apparent once we are through here. And then look a bit at the structural problems of this tree. And of the root system also. So there we go. Of course, one benefit of not too well developed roots, it's quite easy to get the soil off because not many roots it can cling to here. But of course I would prefer proper roots on a tree than easy working conditions. A lot of sand right underneath here, that is also not something I like to see. But we're freeing up the roots. Normally I would also look into washing out those roots, but there's basically nothing clinging to them, so don't really see a reason for it. It has been potted up quite deep into the pot, so there's a lot of additional trunk actually that was hiding underneath here. We might even get like a nice root flare here. What I can see is the way this tree was created is not optimal, let's put it that way. I'll give you a better look in a second. Let me just get off the last bits and pieces of soil here. Then we'll move finally now to the side. Also collect the rest of the soil here. Move it to the side. And now let's take a look at it. First of all, we have here an upwards growing root that we will definitely have to take out because it will be jumping out of the pot. So you can see already here this root has to go. I'm not going to do much root pruning, I can already tell you that, because there is so little root mass on here. But what I wanted to tell you is, you can see basically how this tree was grown or created is, I guess this was a quite already thick branch back in the day that was simply cut and then propagated, because you can see here how it was cut, how it also died back a little bit here. So it's basically hollow all the way to this point in here. It was then potted up in soil, mainly around here, and then around it coco coir for the roots to spread out and spread out more evenly. So they tried, I guess, to get some radial roots going, but not really succeeding with that, because you can see on many of the different areas on this trunk, there is no roots developing. So we have one major root system, I would say, here on this side. And other than that, one taproot that started to form here. And other than that, not much root system. So not much to work with, not much to prune, definitely. And we will need to take a look at this closer and see how to best pot this up, also to give this tree a chance of surviving. Because I think if I would have left it in this pot a little bit longer still, the roots wouldn't have developed any further. They might have actually started to deteriorate because the soil was so dense. It seemed the soil definitely did not benefit these roots at all. So I'm quite surprised that the tree is still in such good health, actually. You can see a lot of new growth coming in already. One or the other yellow leaf that we can get out right away. But another problem that I see on this tree, and if you have a closer look you will spot it right away, is the starting inverse taper. Because you have all the growth, all the branching happening in this area here, there is inverse taper starting to develop. And I think we have to counteract this as soon as possible, meaning today, because this will only get worse and it will simply take away from this potential beauty of this tree if we have this inverse taper we have to deal with. So I would say we have two possibilities. Either we take out this side, have more of a leaning tree, maybe even develop it in the future into a literati style, or we go with this side, which leaves us basically with one very long and straight trunk and then some growth on the side here, which I'm not too happy about. So I would rather go with this possibility here. For that we have to first remove the wire. If you've seen my videos, you know I tend to reuse my wire, so I'm trying to unfurling it because of course it can be reused. Why waste it? So especially with small trees like this, it goes quite fast to unfurling the wire and you can use it later on another tree again. Here we also have to unfurl because I'm not sure yet which of the branches I would like to actually keep. So I would say in the first step we take it off. And of course we can still reapply it then in the end if we see that we need it. So here it's a bit more hidden, the wire, but still easy to find it. And Ficus is very malleable, so you can move the branch around the wire then more than the other way around, and then it gets quite easy to take it off. So here we have the tree without the wire. As I said, I want to keep this side. I'm not fully sure yet if I'm gonna keep this branch here or only those two here. So I would first take a look how it looks if we take out those two branches that come basically anyway from this one side branch here, and if we keep on this one, but we might have to take it away as well. So I'm getting my concave cutter. Why do I take a concave cutter? Because I can go really close and work really on the movement, so I can really narrow in on where I want to take something out and by the way, step by step. So here's the first cut. This of course could make an interesting cutting as well. And a second cut we will need to remove this part here, and I'm trying to already take out a good piece of the main trunk to also work on the reverse taper as we said. So let me see, I think we still have it stuck here a little bit. So instead of ripping it out, of course, I'm taking it out so we don't affect the bark too much. Another potential cutting, of course. So it is already quite flush now. However, I don't think we will need this branch here because it comes out at a very weird spot now, right at the top of the thing that we cut off. I mean, it is still connected here to the main trunk and to the bark. So it should get some nutrients. Let's look at it from this side as well. From this side I could actually see it as a potential feature From this side, definitely not, but I'm not actually sure if this should any longer be the front anyway. You can see here still a stump that we left on from the last pruning session that we also can take out now. So also take this away. You can see here how it already has died back, so that is a good sign. But as I said, even though the trunk is nicer from this side because we have most of the roots here, I do enjoy the look of the tree like this. And I mean, there is potential of roots developing here. I can see the start, the very, very first start of maybe potential roots here, which hopefully will also be further supported by the new soil that we put it in, the new soil mixture. So I would actually, for now, probably leave this on. Because if we take this away still, what does it leave us with? No, I actually would take it away. Because if I look at this way, without it, I think this could actually look nicer without it. So if I just bend this down here, and if I keep it, oh, but if we move it to this side, this could of course also be very interesting. I will keep it on. We already took out quite a lot. I will keep it on, keep our options open for now. So I will probably wire this down here, wire this one probably a bit upwards because right now it is a bit in the way, I would actually say. So if we wire this down, the only problem I still have is how inverse the taper is looking here. I think I will take it out. In the end, it is easier probably to regrow a branch somewhere further up than really work on inverse taper when it is spreading and getting too pronounced already. So I would take this branch out as well. I will really try to propagate those through 3 branches that we took out. And now I just want to clean up the wound a little bit. So again, let's see, probably just from here, taking the bite out a little bit. Oh, let's see. Here's a little branch also that we should take out, a little stump. And it definitely has improved the inverse taper, even though I would still take it out a little bit further down here. So really bite into the bark here and take it out. Yes, now we're getting somewhere. Let's see. This of course is always easier when the tree is still in a pot fixed, so you have both hands to actually work the branch cutter or the concave cutter. But this way it's fine. Definitely has taken some of this inverse taper. This will callus over still. And then it moves further up here. So I think for now, that is enough to actually look at potting up this tree. For that, I'm getting a little bonsai pot. I have already prepared some wire, so we're gonna wire this little guy in, definitely. What I want to do first is put in a good layer of this little clay pebbles, and this will be the main mixture I'm gonna use for this one today. Because I have another ficus that I have basically in clay pebbles mixed in with some of the coco coir it came in, and that one is doing great still. And I think especially for a tree with quite a lot of root problems as this one has, this is a good part or a good mixture that we could work in. So I'm getting some of this coco coir, mix it nicely with the little clay pebbles. And then we can already look at positioning our tree. This is still too deep, definitely. So we fill this in a little bit more before we actually look at tying it in. The soil is really only a tiny bit that I'm mixing in here, so the main ingredients I would say is here, this clay pebbles. So I'm trying to create a little mound here on which we can position the tree. So I would rather go like this, probably still a bit higher. So again, some soil and some more clay pebbles. Mixing it up quite nicely, creating that little mound. And then, yes, now we're getting somewhere. Then we position the tree, making sure we can fit our roots in here. I mean, there's not much to fit in here, but just to make sure later on we will be able to cover them with soil. Then, let me see where I have the wire. I actually have it from here, so I would actually go around from the other side to really tie it in. So go from here, create a little hook, the wire, not fully holding yet. Of course, I don't want this tree to jump out, so I'd rather work the wire a bit around here. And that is holding, that ties it in quite nicely. Let's again look at the position of the tree. Not looking too much at the foliage yet, we will adjust that anyway. But for now the position is good. Bit more of the soil, especially here around the root. I like to cover it a little bit in the soil, but of course not too much. In the end, before it did not really work on this tree, so it is especially this clay pebbles and the aeration it allows us to bring to this tree that should help the roots. And settle everything in here. And that already brings us to the last step, which is working a little bit on the foliage. Working in this case literally means just adjusting the position of it a little bit. So I think we probably make it more like this. Put this one a little bit in the back here. This one up. Yeah, I would go like this roughly. So we take one of the wires we previously have taken off, and we straighten it out a little bit because it simply makes it easier again to work with it. So just taking out all the curling that we had from it before. Look at the size, it fits perfectly, of course, as it was already before on this tree. We'll probably have to, again, then later on adjust the wire a little bit to make sure it really is sticking in there and is not moving too much. So I would move once around here, here coming from underneath. Again, tying those two branches together because they basically come out from the same base. So my goal is to, in the end, hopefully have them fused together actually. So here we can then actually decide on one branch to have them still, at least the foliage then moving out a little bit like it would normally anyway, bifurcate at one point. So we just, we work this once around. And then of course we do the same on this side, which should be a bit easier to go around. And now we have to decide on positioning this. So I would actually give this a little bit of a bend, definitely. Well, I think I actually broke off this growth here by wiring, so take it out. That means also we can shorten the wire here a little bit. So let me get in here. take this out and have this probably also a bit more in an interesting or more interesting shape. So maybe more severely take it like this. My proper goal for this is probably here to have a little side branch. Here, this growing taller and taller, and maybe in the future even taking out this branch completely then. Let me again make sure all our roots here stay covered. Still filling in little gaps that I can see are opening. Because of course, most important is that the roots can gain some health in this tree. So let's see. I think we can still fill this out actually a little bit more with our clay pebbles to give it the proper stability that it needs. One final look at it. I think here we can actually go a bit further down still. And yes, definitely different shape than we used to have before, but I do enjoy the shape of this tree. As I said, maybe potentially this in the future we will discard completely. Could again also help us with here. Of course, we have two branches coming from quite a close area. Maybe here inverse taper again in the future starting to show. Then we have this as a potential branch that we can take out. Focus on this growth here and really turn this more into a Ficus literati style. So very narrow, long, slanted looking bonsai tree. So for that, definitely the thing we did today by taking out the inverse taper here or working on removing that inverse taper was a good step into creating such a literati style bonsai in the future. So there you have it. If you have any questions about this tree or any suggestions for the shape of it, feel free to leave them in the comments. I will get to answer them as soon as I see them. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like, and if you enjoy my channel, of course, feel free to subscribe to it. And hopefully I will see you in the next video then. Until then, goodbye.